Hey friends, Pastor Chuck Blair here from New Church Live. Great to have you joining me this morning as we continue on with our story of Noah and the ark and the storms and the floods in our life. And there's a little known part of Noah and the ark. You know, we probably a lot of you have heard this story before. Some of you may be familiar with sort of some of the nuances of it. One of the interesting nuances of it is that it says the rain lasted for 40 days. So it's easy, just think like, okay, so 40-day storm, and then that was it. And it wasn't. It's interesting to read the story because a part of the story we don't talk much about is this particular line from Genesis 7, verse 24. And the water strengthened on the earth for 150 days. Ooh. So think about that, folks. You had a storm that lasted 40 days, and then you had a flood that lasted 150 days. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that's like for good or bad, doesn't that feel a little bit like life? Like we have the crashing event, the threshold moment, the life was this way, phone call happened, life was that way, or life was this way, conversation happened, life was that way. We have these moments of the actual crash, of the actual storm. And then the Bible goes on to say, oh yeah, and then there's the flood that comes after. Boy, I imagine a lot of us know that to be deeply true. We have the event, whatever that might be, whatever the storm has been in your life, or if you're going through one, like there's the storm, right? And then there's this long, drawn out time period where life just is not the same. And that's one of the most challenging parts. I would imagine a lot of you have experienced this, which is that showing up when someone's in a storm, when it's really bad, is super easy to do. But a lot of that other part, and this is not because people don't care, but a lot of that other part we face alone. There's that initial sort of 911, everybody rushed to the hospital bit because there's been an accident. And then what happens 5 weeks later? That's kind of the big question here. And it's interesting, right? Because how do we hold this in the new church? Well, this is the way Emanuel Swedenborg asks us to hold it. Just an idea, you could have about that idea. And he said this idea, which is a very powerful line. This is both this flood is both an ending point and a starting point. Isn't that interesting? That something is ending and something is being wiped out, changed, altered, dying even. And all that is true. And at the same time, there's something else being born. And the amazing part about that line to me is I know in my experience, I have very little control over that. I mean, frankly, almost zero control over any of that. And it's really about just giving our lives over to God and like, God, here you go. Like not my will, but yours. And that helps to allow us to just kind of be moved through it because God does some of his most powerful work, I think, in these 150 days, quote unquote, at that time where something ends and then something begins. So let's put an edge to it. One of the quotes that I share with a lot of people when a loved one passes is a beautiful quote by Lamott. And it talks about sort of the emergency of something followed by the long term where something ends and yet a small little thing is born. And I want to be so careful with that, folks. It's not that if you're going through dramatic loss that what gets born will somehow cancel out what's lost. I don't think the math won't add up. Oftentimes the math won't add up. You won't see the math add up. And I think we can rest assured that God is very gently going to be working very consistently to just pull out whatever good is possible out of that situation. And from there, we can see something new being born. But in no way does it cancel out the hardness of the loss or somehow in some great mathematical equation does it work out. I don't believe that. I've not seen that be true. I've not experienced that to be true either. So let me read this to you and take a listen because it's such a beautiful, beautiful concept. I actually put it in the description because I think a lot of you would love to print it up and put it somewhere where you can see it. Anne Lamott, well, you will lose someone you can't live without. So just think about that. Someone you can't live without. Your heart will be badly broken. And the bad news is that you never completely get over the loss of your loved one, period. But this is also the good news. There we see the change, right? Also the good news. They live forever in your broken heart that doesn't seal back up. and you come through. It's like having a broken leg that never heals perfectly, but still hurts when the weather gets cold. But you learn to dance with the limp. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. That transition, folks, that idea we don't move through this stuff quickly, I think is a real important part of facing the floods in our lives. I remember a beautiful line, and this was from Joe Biden about losing his son. And Biden commented on losing his son. He said, there will come a time where the mention of your loved one's name will bring a smile and not just tears. Good, good, good stuff. Good, good, good stuff. That's that sweep. That's that transition. And so much of faith is like, just can I just flow with the journey? Can I literally just allow this journey to take me and to move me through life in ways that are really powerful? And that's where things end and things begin. Yeah. And I guess folks, what would be my takeaway for today? My takeaway for today is pretty simple. This goes out, several hundred people will be watching it over the week or the weeks ahead. And I'm specifically want to just give a takeaway to those of you who are in the midst of a storm. And this takeaway, hold on, just hold on. That might be the best thing you can do, is just to hold on, to remember treading water actually doing something. Staying alive is actually doing something. Waking up in the morning, maybe just getting a shower and getting on with life as best you can, that actually is doing something, and that is deeply courageous. Because again, the storm and the flood, like, these things go on for a long time, and we live in a culture that wants instant solutions, instant results. Not how the spiritual life works at all. And yet, if we hold on, we can get to this other part of the story where the ark finally comes to rest, which is what we'll be looking at pretty shortly here. So that's the thought for today, friends. I hope that resonates with you. And what we're going to do now we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing. You can also leave comments on New Church Live's Facebook page or on my Facebook page. We'll be reading from both of those here in a few minutes. And a little public service announcement before we launch into that part. Today is Giving Tuesday, so any financial support you're able to give to New Church Live, always deeply appreciated. We really work hard at doing this. We got a whole team actually that helps us to be this new form of church that's mostly online. So financial help, deeply, deeply appreciated. And you can see more information again on our Facebook page or our website for that. So friends, let's all get a deep breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's take a little look on let's take a little look on our Facebook page here. All right. Okay, read some more comments here. All right, Linda, good morning to you and looking forward to St. Francis in tomorrow. Martha, great to see you joining us. Patricia and Kathy, love seeing you guys join us as well. Yeah, Marcus, right. They were in the ark around 370 days. Yeah. You know, Marcus, isn't it sometimes when there's these numbers, right? Like they were in the ark 370 days, it sort of makes sense, right? Like we go through a really traumatic thing, and it's about a year before, sometimes two, before we get our legs back, which is kind of interesting. Gene Wright, good morning, friends. Make it a great day. Oh, Martha, that's a beautiful line you said. Yes, the phantom limb. So the phantom limb, folks, means if we lose a limb, we will constantly feel like if we lose a hand, we'll still feel our fingers, which is like strange, or still have feeling in our fingers. And that obviously has a metaphorical sense too, that if we lost, we still have that feeling that the person's around. Holding on is a daily maintenance for me. Dancing with a limp helps me to hold on day by day. Saying and hearing our loved one's name is such good salve for our hearts. Thank you for this reminder of meaning and purpose for life. It's easy to forget that. And I do want to reiterate what Mary says. I mean, that's one of the things I really try to do as a pastor is you try to say their name. I mean, these people know the loss, right? It's not like it's a secret to them. And continuing to say their loved one's name, like for Mary saying Ian's name, being able to say that and acknowledge the loss is very important. Linda writes, have a good day and be kind to yourself. Same to all of you. And yeah, and Mary makes a little comment. Yeah, wow. And it's like, boy, I just think that's spot on. All right, so let's just do a quick little flip over here onto our my particular page. And see, we got a few comments there to read through. All right, Sherry writes, so hard to see the big picture and loss one day at a time. New beginnings for me have been so challenging at the start, but as time passes, I've been able to look back at those moments and know there were lessons and growth for me, becoming so much kinder, thoughtful, and caring. And isn't it interesting, right, Sherry? I mean, that's beautifully said, right? The answer to this isn't always like solutions per se or life is better per se, but it does make us kinder, softer, more caring. I think there's sort of a gentleness that arises that's really powerful. Miriam, good to see you this morning. Good morning to you. Paige, good morning to you, my dear friend. And Carl writes, our Methodist pastor out here in St. Helena recently gave me a book by Pema Chodron on how we live is how we die. Excellent, thought-provoking. Folks here may find the view and beliefs helpful. Yeah, that is so true. How we live is how we die. It's heaven all the way to heaven. It's hell all the way to hell. And we need to learn to just live that heavenly existence as best we can. Not perfectly, but living as best we can. Rachel, I see you're on there too. Good to see you, Rachel. So those are the thoughts for today, dear friends. Wishing you all the best. God bless. Bye-bye.